The LG V30S ThinQ, a curiously named and curiously made product by all accounts. When rumors of a refreshed V30 started on the run-up to MWC 2018, we didn't expect this little from LG. What's essentially a new coat of paint with some extra RAM and storage, along with an extremely limited retail strategy, this release feels more like a preview of what LG is working on rather than a full-fledged product. Let's take a look at what's different from the V30 first. An upgrade to 6 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of internal storage rounds out the internal hardware changes in their entirety, but bring about meaningful upgrades for most people. 6 gigs of RAM means amazing multitasking with nary a reload, regardless of what you do, and 256 gigs of internal storage is enough for most people's entire lifetime with the phone. There's still a micro SD card slot too if this somehow isn't enough. LG is also sporting 2 new colors on the V30S ThinQ, a platinum silver, which we don't have, and a Moroccan blue, which we very thankfully do have. This Moroccan blue is absolutely stunning to behold, and LG has stated that this will be a staple color in its phones going forward, which is a relief for folks like me who are sick of black and white phones. Easily the best color I've seen in a phone next to HTC's Solar Red U11, and of course Huawei's gorgeous new P20 series. In sunlight, it looks more like a coral blue than anything, but different types and intensities of light will change the color to a darker shade, and it can even sometimes look purple under the right light. I really hope we see these kinds of colors on phones going forward. It's considerably more attractive than the boring designs we've seen for years, and it really adds character to a device that might otherwise feel a bit generic, given the general consolidation of designs we've seen over the years. Despite its all glass and metal body though, it's rather resilient to drops, which at least fits in with the rest of the V family's tougher builds. This one was accidentally dropped on pavement at one point, a result of the slippery nature of glass and metal, and came away with only this dent in the corner. No guarantee that other V30Ss will be so lucky, but the drop certainly surprised us, that's for sure. So with the same display, same size, battery size, speakers, processor, cameras, and basically everything else, what exactly did LG pack new into the V30S ThinQ to deserve the name change? Aside from shipping with Android Oreo, which most V30 variants have already been updated to, there really are no new features to speak of outside of a settings menu simplification, which was sorely needed, and the usual suite of UI changes and improvements Oreo brought with it. LG has given the camera software a minor facelift too, with some more attractive looking buttons and 3 new modes: AI camera, bright mode, and QLens. It's not just the modes that LG has added either. There are now a series of back-end changes in the camera software that deliver better color accuracy, better low-light performance, and better overall results. QLens is the only feature that appears to be actually exclusive to the V30S ThinQ though, as bright mode and AI camera have been added to the V30 in that Oreo update. QLens is LG's answer to things like Google Lens, Bixby Visual Search, etc., and uses Amazon's product database as well as Pinterest's visual database to do visual searches for product research. It works as well as any other lens using the same databases, to be frank, which is to say it's a cool idea, but in reality isn't something you'll be using regularly, although when you need it, it's pretty invaluable. While the other 2 modes are available for the other V30 variants around the globe on the Oreo build, it's worth taking a look at simply because they're an amazing improvement for every V30 out there. Comparing it against previous generation LG software, which ran on Android Nougat, shows some big improvements in color accuracy and low light scenarios in particular. Colors are now not only more accurate, but they're deeper and punchier and don't look as though they're straining the sensor in very low light situations. The new bright mode uses pixel binning, as it's called, to bring more light into the shot by combining pixels on the sensor, thus lowering the effective resolution but virtually increasing the size of the pixels. The results are brighter shots with more shadow detail, but ultimately can result in less zoom detail in these modes. More than likely what you're looking for in darker shots is the ability to actually see the scene better, and in this case, LG's new mode absolutely helps with that every single time. Bright mode is automatically enabled when the camera detects low light, but the AI camera mode tends to use bright mode far less than the auto mode, if that makes sense. AI camera likely won't choose this mode as its first choice for a shot. As is the case with many other phones now, AI camera looks at the scene and attempts to identify objects, followed by an automatic mode change to one of the seemingly dozens of hidden modes that are supposed to enhance a scene. In practice, this works extremely well most of the time, and only nighttime shots seem to suffer from the inability to switch to bright mode in situations that really could use it. As we pointed out in the Galaxy S9 camera review, the LG V30S tends to take crisper, more detailed shots than Samsung's camera almost every single time. The lowest of lighting conditions show a difference in methodology for sure. Samsung's pictures tend to be a bit brighter, but sacrifice object and zoom detail as a result, while LG's tend to be slightly darker and feature more object and zoom detail. This isn't always the case, but it happens way more often than not. Dynamic range continues to be the weakest point of the V30S's camera though, which hasn't really changed much from the original V30 release, but in most situations this difference is not very noticeable. Times we saw big differences were in shots like this, where a bright overcast sky deeply contrasts with the shaded building, or in this darker room where the sunlight is brightly shining through the curtains, causing the camera to drop the exposure a little too hard to even out the bright light. Using Google Camera with HDR+ fixes the dynamic range issues, so it seems that LG needs to work on its HDR methodology a bit to improve this. The wide-angle lens is just as good as ever, and the front-facing camera really isn't very improved at all, although it's definitely punchier than it was last time around. Since the rest of the phone is really just a V30 on Oreo, unless you're really pining for that Moroccan blue color, it just makes more sense to stick with the discounted V30 than to pick this one up, if you can even get it in the first place. At the very least, it's a preview of what LG is working on for its rumored G7 and V35 phones, and it's definitely a positive trend all around. We hope you enjoyed that review and will subscribe to us for regularly updated content. Chat with us in your favorite social media network, and don't forget to check out AndroidHeadlines.com for 24/7 tech news coverage. Thanks for watching, and until next time.